All right, so follow along with me as I analyze this poem and model what you might have done in your own thought process with Gabriella Talmage's After War, After War, After. And the first thing I would do is look at that title and kind of contemplate its purpose. But usually it doesn't kind of make sense until you read the poem and try to start to analyze it. But these first two lines, many of you had noticed, you've come home from deployment. So this word you means it's someone watching somebody else, right? Like you, not me, but you've come home from deployment. Deployment definitely is a red flag that it's a word associated with war, someone who comes home from being deployed. And the key here is they can't rest. And it's metaphoric that they're sleeping with a radar field inside your mind. Right? But what's key here is you go back there every night, right? They're returning to memories, and it's sort of like muddled what it is they're thinking of, speaking it into old caves, coming out mumbling, talk of elders. And you might be like, I don't even know what that means. And maybe you're not supposed to be meant to like truly understand these kind of memories that sort of uh, mention caves and uncertainty, mumbling and things like that. Memories of children begging for candy, calling out American pieces like Snickers, right? So you're trying to imagine these scenes and thinking about what that might look like. You might talk of a boy who was brought to the base, unfortunately, with this image, the imagery here of being unfortunately blown up from a landmine. And there's no other easy way to say that. And then you get to this point after these images of somebody who's coming home from deployment and they go back there every night. And then these images of maybe what they're going back to are these memories, and ending with, not kids happy talking about candy, but this gruesome image from war. And then we get to this part where it says, you've already been dead. You were gone. So I buried you at my desk. Well, that could be um, another perspective of soldiers remembering others who've died. I've buried you at my desk. Well, clearly they're not physically burying someone, but maybe it's burying someone with thoughts at their desk often representing work. You've already been dead as a person, or you're a different person now. Your many deaths showed themselves to me. Well, maybe they're remembering many different deaths. The perspective might change here on who the you is. And but here it's like their cards are face up on the mantle inside my skull. Like it's vivid and being seen. You and some explosive device. And maybe this is a soldier remembering somebody who's died, you in the radius of its threshing halo. So maybe the perspective here is no longer an observer of a soldier suffering and remembering war like up here. That maybe this perspective is now different right here. And this could be a different way of looking at who the you is. You legless on the phone, well, that's someone different. That we're back to an observer seeing somebody with a disability on hold with the VA. Clearly now we're talking about a military veteran here. And then a different you turning gold then gray, which means something that's positive is gold, gray is associated with death, and slipped into a black sleeve and mailed home could mean a body bag. So it's not the same you that's on a phone on hold with the VA. That person's alive. This person here is dead. So now I'm thinking, well, who is the you, right? But clearly this has to do with many different perspectives of someone witnessing some suffering and death. And when I go back to the title, and this is where that circular motion comes into play when reading poems, after war, after war, after, is this repetition of things that happen after war. And it keeps echoing. And that has to do with the suffering of someone remembering things from war, various different ways. And I hope that kind of helps you see how I picked this apart, debating with myself who the you is, who are these children, what are these memories of based on imagery, the certain word you, these ideas of again and again, and, this idea of, this going back every night, this idea of returning to something that causes suffering. And so I really do hope that you sort of had similar experiences when you were reading this poem and thinking about it analytically. Thanks so much, everyone, for doing that work. This is a very dense poem, for sure.